Hi, welcome to Why Wednesday. I'm Nancy and I'm the owner operator of Metro Learning Solutions, which is a brain training center in the Des Moines, Iowa metropolitan area. In today's episode, I'm going to answer a question that I get from lots of parents, and that is, I know my child is smart, why are they struggling in the classroom? Every parent wants what's best for their child. They want them to be happy and they want them to reach their potential. Your child's ability to learn and grow plays a major part in their ability to reach those goals and can be supported or adversely affected if they are not able to reach their goals. Everybody becomes frustrated, they hate school, they don't like going, you as a parent don't know what to do and you're very frustrated. And educators also see that this smart child is struggling and there are very limited interventions that make a huge difference. As we go through, I want you to keep several things in the back of your mind. The first thing is, has your child been struggling over time? Kindergarten was okay, but then they started struggling in first grade. They didn't quite meet benchmarks in second grade. Third grade, they almost met benchmarks, and now they're in fourth grade and things are difficult. That's struggling over time. And there may be a cognitive component to why that's happening. The second thing I want you to think about is, are they, especially in early grades, because early intervention is best. So in early grades, you don't really have that struggle over time continuum. So you could do a comparison. Are they struggling learning the same information that their peers appear to grasp readily? And if so, that's a red flag, and it may be an indication that a cognitive intervention needs to be pursued. The next thing I want you to think about is, what supports have been tried? You may work really hard every evening, on the weekends, and in the summers to get your child caught up and stay caught up. So having to work harder than the average child to learn the same or less information. Undoubtedly the school has provided some supports, either formally or informally. They may have put them in a smaller group with a reading specialist or a math interventionist. Maybe the classroom teacher has devoted every, a minute or two. They never have time, but if they did have a minute or two, maybe they tried to go over the information again with your child. Maybe you've hired a tutor for your child. All of those are typical supports that do net progress, but while your child is getting this much progress, are their peers getting this much progress? If so, a different intervention might be indicated. The last thing I want you to consider is, do you want your child to be successful because they are successful, or do you want them to be successful because of interventions that you and the school have provided? I believe that a better solution is to find out if weak cognitive skills are the issue, beef those up, and then they are able to better handle any academic or life situation that is thrown their way. I want to take a moment and get into the background of brain training and how that transpired. Several years ago, there was a joint study done by the World Health Organization and the Department of Ed. What they found is that 1 in 5 kids struggle in the classroom. And as a teacher of many years, I say that math is spot on. In a classroom of 20, I usually had, 3 or 4 that struggled for no apparent reason. It didn't make sense. They also found that 80 of those kids that struggled, the 1 in 5, of those strugglers, 80% of them struggled because of weak cognitive skills. The skills that the brain uses to think, read, remember, pay attention, handle information efficiently. The good news is there is a program that addresses those weak cognitive skills, and it's called PACE, and it's what I provide here at Metro Learning Solutions. We'll get into that in a minute. So go back to the classroom, and in this classroom you've got 1 in 5 kids struggling, and the teacher's providing excellent instruction. The school is giving all the interventions they can give, and still your child is not progressing as their peers are. Even though you know that it's because of weak cognitive skills, and the schools may know that too, they're not tasked with developing those. Cognitive skills develop naturally over time. Take, for example, a 10-year-old. A 10-year-old has better memory than a 5-year-old. So it's not because a memory unit was taught, it was because memory develops naturally over time. But remember, for 1 in 5 kids, it doesn't happen at the same rate as their peers. And those are the kids that end up struggling in the classroom, frustrated with school, and their parents don't know what to do. Teachers are puzzled also. So if there's not a school intervention that addresses cognitive skills, and you have a child whose cognitive skills are not developed at the same to the same level as their peers, there's nothing left to do unless you get a cognitive intervention. A cognitive intervention pinpoints the underlying learning skills that are deficient, that are vital in processing, remembering information, interpreting information, and using that information efficiently. So that's what Metro Learning Solutions does. It delivers a program called PACE, which stands for Processing and Cognitive Enhancement. And it is a proven program that makes learning and life easier for the struggling student. What we have found over time, we've been in business over 35 years and have research on over 100,000 plus clients. What we've found is that, keep in mind every child is different, but in a 12-week program, some kids need a little bit more, but in a 12-week program, we tend to get an average gain in cognition of 3.6 years. If your child is enrolled in our additional reading support intervention, that average goes up to 4, and it's not out of the question that we get a 6 to 7 year gain. We also get a big bump in IQ. That wasn't one of the reasons we did this research, but we found it to be true over time. If your child's IQ is under 100, we tend to get an almost 30-point gain in IQ. If it's over 100, it's closer to a 10-point gain. So that's a big boost also. The last thing I want you to understand is, I mentioned that PACE is the result of 35 years of research and development by professionals. We have pre and post scores from our clients. We have parent surveys. We have client surveys. We have MRIs that prove that what we are doing affects how the brain is processing information. And I just want to leave you with this. We do have these this client outcomes and research results done by my parent company, LearningRx, that talks about all the interventions that we've gotten in the last, I think, 5 or 10 years. So if you're interested in pursuing information about a cognitive intervention, be sure you get in touch with me. And the last thing I want to leave you with is this. With the advancement in research and the new available training, it is no longer necessary for students to accept labels, settle for low learning potential, or have to receive compensation for learning problems. So remember when I asked you, do you want interventions to help your child succeed, or do you want them to be able to engage in successful learning? That's what I'm talking about. interventions can be decreased or even alleviated altogether through just bumping up their cognitive abilities. So be sure you get in touch with me if you're interested in more information. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll be back next Wednesday for another episode of Why Wednesday.